now official. The field for the Sweet 16 is set, and apparently no surprise, because for the 8th straight year, Gonzaga is going to be headed to the round of Sweet 16. Check in with Locked On Zags, Andy Patton. You said you were sweating it out, but I mean, by the numbers, they basically already had their plane tickets booked at this point.
Yeah, it's I think the streak made it even more nerve-wracking. We want to keep the streak alive, and TCU obviously a very good team, and we've seen a lot of teams that nobody expected to lose already lose. So definitely feeling the strain there. But the Zags seem inevitable at this point, and here they are back in the Sweet 16.
What was it about TCU that had you so worried about that matchup?
Mike Miles Jr., really, quite honestly. Gonzaga, I think, their strength this year is offensively, but defensively they've had some significant issues. They kind of tightened it up towards the end of the year. We saw some good defensive performances at the end of the WCC season and against St. Mary's in that championship, but we hadn't seen them put together some really good defensive efforts against some of the high-level guards that you knew that you would see in the NCAA tournament. Mike Miles absolutely falls into that category, and you could see why. He was absolutely dominant in this game, had 20, I think, early in the second half, and really did a good job of getting straight through Gonzaga's defense and getting some uncontested shots at the rim. But Gonzaga's offense was enough, and they got some stops when they needed them and were able to pull off the victory.
Are you impressed to see, obviously you would have liked to see them contain him a little bit more, but even with Miles getting what he got, they were able to get out of there with a win and kind of find a way, if you will, to make it to the next round.
Yeah, they have Drew Timme, and that helps a lot. Drew Timme, the man does not like to lose, and he finds ways to put teams on his back. And I think you look at previous years, they had an Andrew Nembhard, who's a very, very good point guard in the NBA. Of course, you had Chet Holmgren, you had Jalen Suggs, and this year's team has a lot of talent around Drew Timme. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of really talented players, but they don't have some of that star power kind of that they've had in the past. And so Drew's really been relied on to be that guy. And he took over that role in a significant way, especially in the second half of this game. And Gonzaga's defensive limitations are something that's going to be a factor against UCLA. And if they advance past that, it's going to continue to be an issue. But it's been 4 years and nobody's proven they know how to stop Drew Timme, and I can't imagine that's going to happen in the next couple of games either.
Looking forward to UCLA. That's going to be quite the rematch, if you want to put it that way. Yeah. We all remember that last second shot a couple of years ago. So what do they have to do to get focused in this one and kind of stay where they need to be to advance?
Yeah, UCLA is a great defensive team, and they lost their Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year in Jalen Clark. He got hurt before the Pac-12 tournament. He's out for the entire tournament, the NCAA tournament, I should say. And so that's a big loss for them, but didn't really hurt them. They've continued to play extremely good basketball up to this point. They don't have a ton of size up front. And I think that's where Gonzaga's advantage is going to be. But TCU didn't have a ton of size either, and they still found ways to kind of swarm and bother Drew Timme. And I suspect that we will see that from UCLA as well. They're a more polished offensive team as well. So it's going to be a really tough matchup. Like you said, rematch of 2021 with Jalen Suggs, rematch going all the way back to 2006. I read somewhere that game on Thursday between Gonzaga and UCLA, 17 years to the day from the epic comeback by UCLA, and of course, Adam Morrison quite famously crying on the basketball court. So not a memory that too many Gonzaga fans are going to love, but a bit poetic that they'll get a chance at redemption 17 years to the day from that game.
If we're looking to avoid some tears from Zags players and fans, what are they going to need to do to kind of get up to the Final Four? I mean, they make it to the Sweet 16 a lot, but then, they run into trouble. So what do they need to do to get to that next level this year?
The outside shooting is going to need to be more consistent. I think that was a big issue in this game. I think the Zags were 2 for 11 or so in the first half, something along those lines, really struggling. And TCU was letting them shoot. They were packing the paint, forcing Gonzaga to find other ways to score outside of getting the ball to Drew Timme. And they haven't necessarily proved that they can consistently score away from Drew Timme, and that's going to be a factor for them. And then, of course, defense. Their pick and roll defense has been bad, to put it lightly, this season, and they're going to play some teams. The rest, UCLA and anybody else that they could, in theory, play going forward are going to be teams that are really good at getting downhill and getting to the basket. And Gonzaga doesn't have Chet Holmgren anymore. He erased a lot of their mistakes on the defensive end of the floor by just being so long and blocking so many shots, and they don't have that guy. So for them, I think figuring out ways to play better on the defensive end of the floor and not give up as many uncontested lay-ins or uncontested outside shots, because TCU was good enough to beat them and didn't quite do it, but the rest of the teams that they're going to play are going to be able to do that. So they're going to have to find ways to stop them.
You're right. Locked On Zags. I'm sure we'll have a full recap of this game. And of course, Locked On College Basketball as well. You're helping us out with. So we'll have you covered on all facets there. And all of this is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.